Miami Hurricanes recruiting updates and intel. How are the Canes doing in the trenches?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, writer for Canes County at Rivals, and thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're going to scout some of Miami's top recruiting targets in the trenches and otherwise on this episode. We're going to get some intel because our guy, Brian Smith, host of the Portal podcast on this Locked On network, talking everything NIL, recruiting, transfer portal. Brian, you were at the Battle in the Trenches event this past weekend down in South Florida, and you know I have a fascination, borderline obsession on Canon Pickett. I want to make sure he lands at Miami after there was some flirtation with Clemson, but things seem to be, the universe is course correcting now, and Canon Pickett is trending towards Miami again. You got a chance to watch him, and also talk about Breck Kolojay from IMG Academy, another one I want Miami to land in this class of 2026.
Yeah, they both play for California Power 5-on-5. It's the best 5-on-5 program in the country. Let's start with Pickett. He plays both tackle and guard. He's 6'5", 320. He's a powerful guy. I think he's probably best to start out at guard and end up at tackle in college, but he could play either, and he plays all across the line. They've cross-training to do everything. His athleticism for a man well over 300 pounds is unusual. And most importantly, he's patient with his pass sets. A lot of guys that were there are really athletic. There were South Florida teams, Southridge and West Boca. There was a lot of really good teams. And then he obviously gets to practice against the elite offensive and defensive players with California Power too. So I was impressed with him across the board. And when I talked to the big man about recruiting, Canon was like, man, it's hard. He said, he had a good visit to Clemson and all that, but then he just visited Miami. His brother showed up at the event, so that kind of helped. I'm sure he's pulling for the Miami Hurricanes as well, but he's just kind of feeling it out. I still think he'll stay at one of the in-state schools when it's all said and done. Clemson's still involved, Alabama, Georgia trying to get visits, but probably one of the in-state schools, and Miami would be my pick if I had to pick one.
Now, how about Kolojay at IMG Academy, who's another interior offensive lineman that I absolutely love?
It's funny because Marcus Benjamin and I from Rivals, we were talking about it because Marcus was at the event too. And it's like, man, he is so good as a pass setter, and it's best for him to play interior. He's a really big, powerful guy, but Breck's ability to pass set for an interior offensive lineman is rare. He works with Big Ray at a Trench Academy in Tampa, and he's at IMG. So, he's getting trained across the board. That certainly helps, but he's really good at it, and he's just so strong. He's originally from Colorado, but he's been at IMG for a few years, and he doesn't really get to see something new now. Like, he's seen everything, and he was really, really good. As far as recruiting, he told me, he goes, Ohio State and North Carolina are going to get visits this week, and I just checked his X handle. And he was with Bill Belichick at UNC. He was over there with Coach Day at Ohio State. He's still got a lot of visits to go through, too. Miami's right there. Georgia's right there. I thought those would be the teams. Ohio State's got a chance. But Miami really, really wants him. And he has a really good relationship with none other than Alex Mirabal. And Mirabal is one of the better O-line recruiters in the country. He deserves more credit than he gets. And he's obviously a very, very good coach, too. But I like Miami, Ohio State, and Georgia the most in his recruitment. We'll see how much the North Carolina visit impacts him. I still don't know how to grade what North Carolina is going to do because, it's so weird having Bill Belichick in college. I still haven't adjusted to that. I don't know about you, Alex. But
no, not at all. In fact, I wanted to ask you a follow-up on that because North Carolina, they're using this like really catchy slogan that I'm sure it resonates probably with their fan base. Like their whole marketing thing now is, we're the 33rd NFL team. Like that's how they keep marketing themselves. And it's like, I see you, for those listening to the audio version, Brian Smith visibly cringed when I referred to North, and this, I didn't make this up, but North Carolina now refers to themselves as the 33rd NFL team. And like, my reaction is the same as yours. It's a little bit cringeworthy because I'm just, where I'm at is prove something first Okay. Like, does that resonate with recruits, Brian, from what you can tell?
You got to prove it. I mean,
Yeah.
their administration's been happy with 7-5 for 40 years. Why would they be? That's a little aggressive. So
Yeah.
whatever. But Kolojay doesn't have a UNC visit lined up or Ohio State. We'll see. But he's got Oklahoma April 11th, Miami June 6th, Georgia June 13th, Tennessee June 20th. So obviously he's an elite recruit. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not so sure about the whole 33rd NFL team for Carolina yet. Let's put the brakes on a little bit.
Now let's go away from the trenches and talk about a running back that I'm hopeful Miami can land maybe real soon. There's been a lot of momentum with Javian Mallory. You know, I know he actually was another player who recently visited Clemson, and they tried to build some momentum, but I still hear really positive feedback on Miami for Mallory. Where do you think the Hurricanes stand with him, Brian?
They're top of the board. Unless something changes, I think that Javian Mallory will sign with the Miami Hurricanes. This is an all-around running back too. He's a 3-down player, which is hard to find in today's game because he's over 200 pounds. Like if you shake his hand, you walk up to him, you're like, this is what a big-time running back's supposed to look like. And when like all of us go to Miami Under Armour every year in the recruiting industry, and he was one of the few guys that was worth paying attention to at running back when they do the pass catching drills. That's usually where bigger backs struggle. And to be honest with you, he was really good at it. John Garcia Jr. from Rivals even said to me, he's like, he really improved. He's gotten a lot better at it. And he's a downhill, pound you running back anyway. So we're very high on him. And he's just got a positive attitude and everything. Like, this is why Miami has been after him for so long. But so is other schools like Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida, etc. Like he's been scouted by everybody, but right now it looks like Miami is the sole leader here. And barring something unforeseen, I expect him to be a Cane rather soon.
I love that. Maybe a few other potential Canes we'll talk about on the other side. There's a few wide receivers that I want to get Brian Smith's take on, including is Miami the current leader for the top slot receiver in the entire nation? You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights with the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. We're also proudly brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. I'm a little under the weather, a little tired, but I've been getting that pick-me-up from 5 Hour, and I feel full of energy right now. Guys, daylight savings also snuck back up on us, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, which we're all doing now, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Guys, with longer days, I love getting outside for a hike or a run. Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost. Head to 5hourenergy.com. Find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, which is delicious. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. Make sure after you make Locked On Canes your first listen, for your next listen, check out the Portal Podcast, hosted by our guest, Brian Smith, the recruiting overlord, taking you through everything, NIL, recruiting, and transfer portal. Yet an episode this week, Brian, that caught my attention about Jasen Lopez, slot receiver from Chaminade Madonna. And the question on the pod was, is Jasen Lopez from Chaminade, is he the best slot receiver in the country? Did you determine that he is or isn't?
I would take him because I've seen him multiple
Yeah.
times. I like the eye test. I like seeing it myself. And he just is the consummate player for the position because he takes his craft seriously, his ability to change direction, and he's got just stick them on his hands naturally. Like he catches the football no matter where it's thrown. I love Jason Lopez's game, and I'm still puzzled why he's not ranked higher
Yeah.
and why he doesn't have more. I don't get it. And if you want a bigger slot receiver or whatever, that's fine. But from a traditional measurement, think of what Brady had, say 10, 15 years ago. And that style, those guys that were just so annoying on 3rd and 4, that's Lopez.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being the third down chain mover and a guy that's in the red zone when you got to put a safety on him or something. Good luck. He's a really, really big problem. And he's a great kid too. So I think Miami's the leader there. And I think he's a guy that can play early. And before anybody asks, yeah, he's similar to Restrepo and like his ability to be a difference maker, strong guy, and just has no fear.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've talked about it because the similarities it's impossible to ignore, but
Correct.
it's reached a point where we've done the Restrepo Lopez comparisons so much. Like I just and I can tell you feel the same way. Like we need to find other ways to describe Jason Lopez because we keep going back to the same old well with him. But it's good to know you think Miami is the leader in the clubhouse for Lopez because he's an incredible player already, and he's an awesome basketball player as well. And
That's
to
true.
me, probably even has more athletic upside than Restrepo, if I'm being honest. So hopefully he ends up being a Cane. And another receiver we've been paying close attention to is Calvin Russell. And I know there's been a lot of schools are interested, but there's also been a Miami versus Syracuse tug of war for him, Brian. I'm starting to read the tea leaves that maybe Miami is considered more of a favorite at this very moment, but this stuff can obviously change between now and signing day. What are you hearing on Calvin Russell?
When Calvin was interviewed by myself and several other media members at Miami Under Armour, he made it clear he wanted to take all his visits. And we're not talking about 5, we're talking about 10 plus because he just hasn't seen all the schools. And I'm like, dude, you're going to kill yourself. But at the same time, Miami and Syracuse are the teams that are most often brought up with him. Like he's visiting Michigan and some other schools unofficially right now. I just think he has the best relationships with those two programs. And nothing here recently, and I asked somebody about him recently, last few days, where's he going to go? Syracuse could be the landing spot if he leaves Florida. He has a great relationship with Fran Brown, and he's a tremendous recruiter. He's from the tree of none other than a certain guy in Athens, Georgia, that's got a couple of rings. So he understands recruiting. But will he leave? I mean, what is it? 30 minutes tops, bad traffic to get to University of Miami from Northwest. Like it's right down the road. So that's really hard for me to see. But Syracuse could get him. Nothing new in terms of a leader from what I've heard. It's probably Syracuse or Miami.
And Miami's in it for some out-of-state receivers as well. We were talking off air about Messiah Hampton, Brian. Where is he from? The New York area?
North New York.
And
yes,
he's locked in. He's locked in an official visit with Miami, correct?
Yeah, I spoke with him yesterday. I interviewed him, and Messiah Hampton's a top 100 kid. He's a natural route runner, and he's a guy that is very serious about his craft. Like he'll go out in the snow after somebody gives him a drill, do it, record it, and send it to him. Like he takes it very seriously. Like upstate New York, they got snow all the time. Yeah. And Oregon, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Miami, those are the prominent programs. Kind of puts it in perspective what kind of talent we're putting on the paper here. And just a great kid. He visited Miami recently, really liked it. And Kevin Beard is a great recruiter, and they've done a really good job with him. So I'll be curious to see where he ends up, but his recruitment is wide. It's like he's from upstate New York. He doesn't have the same kind of allegiances as some other guys. And yes, Fran Brown is certainly involved with Syracuse as well. He's a good recruiter, but that's going to be hard for him to keep him home. That kid's blown up to the point where it could be just anywhere.
I'm glad you mentioned Syracuse because I didn't hear you say Syracuse at first. So I was gonna ask you, is Fran Brown only interested in players in Florida and not from his own area? So a receiver in a different part of Florida, St. Augustine, who just had a good multi-day visit to Miami this past week. I was talking about him a little earlier with Marcus Benjamin, but what's your take on Samori and Wingo? And honestly, it seems like this is a stacked wide receiver class because the list of receivers, there's probably some more we could talk about. It's never ending.
Yeah, this is another Not that this is going to surprise you, Alex, but the state of Florida is loaded with wide receivers. Who knew? Every year, it's just incredible, and it's throughout the state now. There's kids in Pensacola, Jacksonville, all the way to Miami. It's everywhere. Wingo lives just south of Jacksonville. He's been a kid on my radar for a couple of years. And like, if you see a photo of him, like he was built like a professional boxer. He's put together. I'm curious to see where he goes because he could play boundary, he could play flanker, and he's a guy that just goes up and gets it. He's got really good skills when it's a contested catch. He's got pretty good speed too. Miami's one of a number of programs that are after him. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know him personally like that. I've been around him, but this recruitment is wild because St. Aug's not a school that everybody really expects to have players, but in the last couple of years they have. And good for them. I think it's cool when a new program kind of emerges in the state of Florida, like West Boca did this past year. But this is a kid that Miami wants, and a bunch of other schools do too. So the OBs will probably tell the tale. Is he going to stay in state? Is he going to leave because he's got offers all over the place? Really good football player, though.
Now, you attend and cover so many competitive events involving high school players. What did you make of the Deion Sanders idea for colleges? And I don't think this is ever going to happen with spring games against other teams because there's NCAA bylaws against it. But Kenton Gibbs thinks it will happen because if you follow the money, there's going to be too much money not to at a certain point. But I mean, do you like that? Because I know people will say, hey, there's so much risk of injury if you have spring games against other programs, but I love the Deion Sanders idea. I mean, and I love the fact that he is embracing competition when so many other coaches are running away from it when it comes to spring.
You said a very key word right there, money.
Yeah.
Look, we can say whatever we want. To think that the advertisers and the networks and all that have the players' interest first, I don't agree with that. I just don't. But at the same time, there's ways you could do it where it's more 7-on-7 like, and just like the camp that I went to this past weekend. They don't have to do all the drills in full on, scrimmage and all. They could do things that are pass rush. They could do things that are basic. The bigger question will be because Deion doesn't care. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
That's been his mentality. And good for him. I agree. I love it. Guys that are more guarded, that don't like anybody getting their information, they don't want players on film. They don't want anybody to see their lineup. That will be the big problem because even if they're forced into doing it, they might just play all their underclassmen that aren't going to start, etc. And there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But you can still see drills, and they'll find a way to monetize. And that it still comes down to money.
Yeah.
I think Deion's idea is good, but it'll be different for each school, each conference. And you're not going to force guys to play their starters like quarterbacks and stuff like that are coming off surgery. They're just going to stand there. So there's different ways to do it. But the full-on scrimmage where a spring game is like North Carolina versus Florida State or Miami versus Clemson or what, that's not going to happen in my opinion. The injury risk and the coaches not wanting their film to get out, I think is going to cause some problems.
Well, guys, make sure you check out all of Brian's awesome insight on the Portal podcast. Follow on X at LO_the Portal. He is the recruiting overlord. Thank you so much for taking the time and for all this insight. I hope, I'm getting myself a little hyped up that Miami's going to end up with a top 5 type of recruiting class. So keep my fingers crossed they can land some of these players we talked about, or most of them anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I think this is going to be a really fun time the next couple of weeks. You're going to see a lot of commitments.
I love it. Well, we'll talk to everyone next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.